like to call to order the Board of Aldermen meeting for Monday, March 3rd. We have roll call, please.
Alderman Sykes. Here. Alderman Miller.
Here.
Administrator Welty.
Here.
Mayor Bailey.
Here.
Attorney Ball.
Here.
Alderman Salem.
Here.
Alderman Shelton.
Here. Everybody join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item we have on the agenda is the consent agenda. We have the council report and the Board of Aldermen minutes from February 24th, 2025.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
May I have roll call, please?
Alderman Sykes.
Aye.
Alderman Miller.
Aye.
Alderman Salem.
Aye.
Alderman Shelton.
Aye.
Motion carries. Unfinished business, we have none. New business, we have Kim Heck presentation. Administrator Welty.
Thank you. So today we have Kim Cole and Claire Wilson from Kim Heck. Kim and her team are the team that helps the city and Nick with our sewer pretreatment program. Kim herself is a PE. She's done a TEDx talk. She's done all kinds of stuff on this subject, and we are blessed to have her as one of our consultants. We are dealing with situations where we are not able to keep up with the cost of some of the pretreatment, and Kim is going to be talking to us a little bit about what that means and how that affects our future. We're going to do this in 3 steps. We're going to try and do this intelligently and provide as much upfront information to our industrial clients as possible. So today, Kim is going to talk about this to the board, and we're going to have the opportunity to ask any questions of her. At the next meeting, we're going to ask the board to approve a resolution. That resolution will go to DNR, supporting the ordinance and fee change schedule that Kim is going to talk about. And then sometimes it can take DNR 30, 60 days, we don't know, to approve that kind of stuff. But once it is approved, our plan is to bring it back to get approval for that ordinance. Now, like I said before, our goal here is to be transparent with our industrial partners. So tentatively, we don't plan on starting this program until January 1, 2026. So the idea here is get out in front of this, make sure that all of our clients that are required to do pretreatment know about this ahead of time. And so we wouldn't put anything in place until the first of the year. And likely we would be telling them about this after it's approved somewhere around in the middle of the year. It's kind of our thought process. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Kim for her to go over her presentation. In front of you all, you have this. This is the presentation that Kim is going to be going through right now. Thank you, Kim. The floor is yours.
Great. Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it. So I would like you guys to ask questions. I don't want to spend too much time if we don't need to. I think you guys all have a PowerPoint presentation. There should be page numbers at the bottom of each one of those. So I'm going to go through these kind of generally. I'm going to put Nick on the spot for a few questions, and then after I get through everything, or as we go, just let me know what question you have if you want to slow down any topics. So industrial pretreatment programs, the way I like to think about it is that as the city, you have a permit from the state that requires you to treat wastewater that gets flushed down the drain before it goes back into Happy Sacks Creek. So since you have a permit that puts you responsible for discharging clean water back into the receiving stream, the fact that you have a pretreatment program allows you to turn around and issue permits to contributors to your sewer system that might put in pollutants that aren't the same as from households. So think of the difference between, normally you're treating pee and poop, but for industry you get things like toxic metals or higher strength loads that are harder to treat at the wastewater treatment plant. So that's really what the first slide is saying, is that because industrial wastewater isn't the same as residential wastewater, the state requires that you have this program so that you have control and basically legal authority, which is what we're talking about, updating your code. So slide 3, St. Clair responsibility. So more specifically, the legal authority that city administrator Frank Pulte was talking about is the legal authority gives you the authority to issue permits, to inspect, and to make sure these industrial users follow the city's requirements. Again, you're acting like a little mini EPA. You're defining limits for the industry, you're setting monitoring requirements. It gives Nick the ability to inspect the industries as well. The next slide on slide 4 is one of my favorite slides. Curious if any of you have been to the wastewater plant that Nick runs. Great. Anybody else? Okay, so I would encourage you to go visit the wastewater plant if you haven't. I really do find it fascinating. I just want to ask Nick, are you proud of what you do for a job?
Yeah, no, I am.
Like cleaning up water before it goes back
Yep,
into the river?
I've always really taken care of the creek, and it's nice to be able to know what's going through it.
And do industries impact, I guess how easy or hard, or just like how do industries impact your wastewater?
So it's a small plant, so it can change it quickly. I mean, a small few hundred gallon grease or metals could change the plant dramatically.
Yeah, and I'd say a lot of communities that have, a lot of communities that have pretreatment programs are bigger communities, like think St. Louis MSD, where they have hundreds of industries, but they also have a lot of flow from residents. So we're talking hundreds of millions of gallons, and then industries might not have as much impact. When you're talking about a smaller community, the industrial impact can be much greater on a percentage-wise. And then my other question for Nick is, are you glad that you have a pretreatment program?
Yes, yeah, no, it's extra work, but it is good to know the community. I mean, we have a close-knit group of industrial people, and they've came to meetings for us, and we just met with them all at the bank.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a close-knit group, so it's good.
Yeah.
If there is a problem, I can call, I know who to call.
A lot of the pretreatment program is about relationships and communication and getting the industries to understand how they could impact the wastewater treatment plant. And by having a program, it gives Nick a direct, even if he needs to, legal authority to be able to inspect, to go onto their property and collect samples. It just gives him that trust factor that may not be there without the code. Slide 5 is called Enforcement Response Plan. So a lot of what we're talking about is cost recovery, but along with that is identifying when there's non-compliance. So an enforcement response plan gives you a way to implement the legal authority. And the goal is to get the industries back into compliance. So the code that's being proposed, cost recovery is one of the main things, but we're also modernizing your pretreatment code to account for things like emerging pollutants. It gives the city the ability to issue different types of control mechanisms. Traditionally, we issue permits, but there could be, say, a restaurant that's impacting your sewer system. It gives you something easier to issue that's not a full permit, that makes less monitoring requirements, but still gives the city the ability to enforce the pretreatment code. So those are some of the changes that we have included in this legal authority update. The overall goal is more flexibility in the program so that you have different mechanisms for different types of industrial users. It also, if you guys heard of PFAS, it gives you the ability to regulate emerging pollutants. If you don't know what PFAS are, I would say watch Dark Waters. It's a good movie, kind of like Aaron Brockovich type. And then the overall goal, like the main goal is that you can afford to operate your system. And this is something I preach across a lot of the communities. We work with probably 25-ish communities in the state of Missouri, or we work in 5 different states. And you have to have the resources to implement your program. Nick and his staff are already stretched really thin, which is why he relies on us to help support his program. When industries have violations, we have to spend extra time preparing documents, having meetings. It's not free. So this legal authority, the cost component is set up so that there's a base fee, and then if there's additional work, then there's additional administrative fees on top of that. So slide 8 is talking about the different types of fees. I'm going to kind of skip ahead to that because a copy of the user fee schedule is stamped draft, knowing that we still need to discuss it. We've asked the city for Nick and Jason to kind of go through it, and Mike to go through it and cross out what they don't want, change fees. This is really for you to use. This is proposed based on what we've seen other communities do. Earlier today, I was in St. Peters, Missouri, and they've adopted a very similar fee schedule.
Kim, quick question. Can you tell me what the city of St. Clair is charging now?
There are no user fees right now.
All right, so I did that on purpose, because I want to make sure that everybody understands that right now, we are absorbing, the city is absorbing these costs. And so what Kim continues to explain, and I'll be quick, is just like other cities, we should be passing these costs on to the people or to the companies that are responsible for dealing with this. Sorry, Kim, go ahead.
No, you're absolutely right, because even right now, a lot of communities I work with have residential rates, commercial rates, and industrial rates. You guys just have one flat rate, meaning residents pay the same cost per gallon for water and wastewater as in industry. That means your residents are bearing a lot of the cost associated with implementing the pretreatment program. I won't spend time on these. We can talk about them in more detail if you guys are interested. I'm happy to come back again if you guys want me at another council's meeting or board meeting, that's what these are, right? Something else that is specifically mentioned on slide 11 is talking about high strength fees or surcharges. That's also something that's consistently implemented across the whole country. And right now, the city of St. Clair does not implement high strength fees. It's just saying if you have, residents have a certain strength associated with the wastewater that goes down the drain. Industries a lot of times have higher strength. It takes more electricity to run the blowers. It takes more costs from contractors to land apply the biosolids. So it's just accounting for pounds that an industry discharges to associate that cost with them. Slide 12 has a recommended schedule. I see a typo. We should have started with 2026. The slide before that references 2026. So just showing that we won't implement it 100% on day one. You can change these numbers. You can change the percent that you increase each year. But these numbers are typical for what I see implemented. You could do a whole cost of service study and evaluate where your money is spent on your budget with different types of pollutants. This is based on generic numbers from the budget that Nick provided to us. Slide 13 goes through the process that Mike went through with me. There is a public notice step. When DNR reviews it, they'll also public notice it. We've talked to the industries once. We have annual inspections with the industries, but we'll be able to update them again. Thinking of smaller industries, and if there's anything we want to tweak or soften for industries that are smaller would be something we could brainstorm more. But this is a starting point for you guys to digest and discuss and figure out what works for you guys. But, any questions?
Thank you very much.
Kim, you went quicker than I thought you would. Thank you for that. You absolutely nailed it, so thank you so much. So I want to make sure that the board understands how important this is to the future of our sewer system. Dealing with these, the things that aren't pre-treated properly can be expensive. So as I said before, the goal here is that Kim and Nick and Jason and I are going to kind of probably powwow sometime late this week, early next week to finalize everything, and then we will have a resolution asking the board to support these changes at the next meeting, which will all go to DNR, and we'll be at their mercy, see how long it takes them, and then once we get final approval, we'll be back to ask actual approval to change the ordinance to reflect the updates to the pre-treatment plan. So thank you, Kim. Nick, is there anything that you want to add here, since you're the steward here? You're the one that takes care of everything, huh?
So yeah, just our few industries that we have permitted, there's 6 or 7 permitted industries in town, but they use them a lot. They have a lot of questions, there's a lot of back and forth. Clays is going through a lot of changes with them combining all of their industry. You know, they bought out Parway Trison, and they're absorbing a lot, and they've made a lot of changes. And it takes a lot to get them in compliance, and a lot of questions and changing with interceptors, and they have to do a lot with their flows. So it's taken a lot of money. So the citizens shouldn't have to pay for all of it. So I think these permit fees will help deal with being able to pay for a consultant to be able to get them all in line.
Yeah, when I was in
That's what it's
St.
all
Peters
about.
today, there was an industry that got fined $35,000, and that was just fine without even cost recovery, without administrative fees.
Yes.
So that helps just alleviate some of the cost burden to the city.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta have resources.
Thank you, Kim.
Okay, thanks. reach out with any questions or ideas or suggestions. Totally receptive.
Thank you. Next, we have the fireworks contract. Commissioner Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. This is my first time with your all's fireworks contract, but it's my understanding that you guys have used Showtime Pyrotechnics LLC for I think at least the last 5 years, maybe longer than that. I did do some informal bidding. As long as it's under $25,000, I don't have to formal bid, so I did some informal bidding. I reached out to some other local fireworks contractors, and Showtime's given us the best shell count for 7,500. The one thing I did, when I talked to Mike, the owner, the one thing I did leave open was the possibility to amend this contract if we wanted to up the show in a future year. We budgeted for 7,500 this year, so I don't really want to mess with that this year, but if we get the kind of reception that I think we're going to get at Freedom Fest this year, and we can add 2,500 to that and go up to 10, then we can make this show even better. So just, I reserve the right to come back and ask for a little bit more if we want to change the show in future years, but I do recommend approval. And I don't know these people, so I did check his references and I found nothing but positive. So I think you guys probably know better than I do, but this looks like a really good operator. So I'm pleased. I do recommend approval.
I would like to introduce bill number 2025-12 for first and second reading by title only.
Bill number 2025-12, an ordinance for the city of St. Clair authorizing the mayor to enter into a 3-year agreement with Showtime Pyrotechnics LLC to provide a fireworks display annually at the city's Freedom Fest event for an amount not to exceed $7,500 each year. Second reading, an ordinance for the city of St. Clair authorizing the mayor to enter into a 3-year agreement with Showtime Pyrotechnics LLC to provide a fireworks display annually at the city's Freedom Fest event for an amount not to exceed $7,500 each year.
I move to approve bill number 2025-12 is read. I'll second.
Any further discussion? May I have roll call, please?
Alderman Sykes.
Aye.
Alderman Delory,
Aye.
Alderman Sandy.
Aye.
Alderman Shelton.
Aye.
Motion carries. Bill number 2025-12 becomes ordinance number 2207. Next, we have the police department's DWI and speed enforcement grant. Commissioner Wilkie.
Yeah, and assuming this is approved, I do need you all to sign this tonight so that I can go ahead and get this going. But this is just the one of the annual DWI and speed enforcement grants that the city gets through the Highway Patrol, and it just allows our people to do a couple more speed and DWI enforcement events to help keep our roads safe. I do recommend approval.
So then through these grants, MoDOT, just for clarification, MoDOT reimburses the city for the hourly wages and overtime that the officers incur working the road under these grants, correct?
That is correct.
I'll make a motion to approve this DWI and speed enforcement grant through MoDOT. I'll second.
May I have roll call, please?
Alderman Sykes.
Aye.
Alderman Delory,
Aye.
Alderman Sandy.
Aye.
Alderman Shelton.
Aye.
Motion carries. Attorney Voss.
Nothing, Mayor.
Commissioner Wilkie.
Yeah, I do have a couple of things. Just, I'll be quick, but we did make a change in trash service. Last week was the final week of our old trash company. This week is the first week of our new trash company. Because of when I came on board, I did not get the opportunity to give as much time as I normally would for something like this, and it is a little bit rushed. We have spent a lot of time on the phone with citizens trying to explain the change to them, and I do want to recognize really our entire administrative staff, from Megan and Victoria, Jason, Craig, but really most importantly, I really want to recognize Stacy and Caitlin. Stacy and Caitlin are basically our number one and number two on the phones, and they get the brunt of it, and they talk to a lot of people, and they tell a lot of people the exact same thing over and over again every day. I jump in and I help, but I got to give it to those two. They hung in there last week. They hung in there today. It'll be a little while before these calls die down as people just want to talk to somebody and make sure that they have it right. And we're doing our best, and it's going to be fine. It's just been a lot all at once here. And anytime you change something that involves 1,600 customers, you're always going to have a little bit of that. But they've really done a wonderful job, and I want to thank them. And then last but not least, I did show you all. I went around very proud. I showed you all what I about the balancing of our financial system, which I'm very happy to say that we have finally got that all straightened out. That is the reason for the delay in the financial statements. But later this week, we will have those financial statements out to you, and rest assured that everything is completely and totally balanced. It's taken me a long time to get it to that point, but I'm really excited that it is, and really happy and confident that we can stay in that, consistent with that moving forward. And that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Do you have anything for Jason?
No, the chief had, the police had an emergency they had to go take care of. I don't have anything with them. The only thing on the public works side is what we just talked about with the pre-treatment stuff, and I think you guys got enough of that from Kim, so I don't need to add anything more. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Alderman Sykes.
Just a reminder that the park board trivia is Saturday, so if you want to contribute any type of silent auction items, we're still accepting those. And last I heard, there was one table left. So I haven't heard since last Tuesday, but one table left. So. They may have. I just haven't heard since last Tuesday. So if it happened between then and now, I just haven't heard.
Okay.
But our contact for tables has been out of the country on vacation, so she got back today, so maybe I'll get an update soon.
Thank you. Do you need the board person?
I just wanted to say that because I know a lot of the aldermen are receiving phone calls regarding the trash as well, and I did ask Administrator Welty, just for the record, there is a letter that the post office has somewhere that's supposed to be going to each of us, so that could have answered some of the questions that are coming in, but.
And for the record, that letter has also been posted on Facebook at least 4 or 5 times. It's on our city website. I think we even put some information out on Code Red as well. So we're doing everything we can, but it's fine. There are some citizens that digest this kind of information differently, and some of them would rather just hear it directly from me. Trust me, I can guarantee you that. And that's fine, and that's totally fine, and we're here to serve, and we'll take care of it. It might take a few weeks, and I might have to have somebody take me into a psychiatric ward at some point, but that's okay. We'll get through it. We'll totally get through it, and I think the citizens are going to have a better service for it, and I think that's really what's most important. So.
Any other? I happened to be here last week when those calls were coming in, and I commend those girls as well. I can't imagine how rough it is. And I also want to thank everybody for taking time out to go out and cheer on the state wrestlers on their way to state. That was really nice to do that last week. Does anyone from the public wish to approach the board? Our next regular meeting will be Monday, March 17th at 7 p.m. If there's nothing further, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?